One.
Indeed, good morning. Let me just stop the music here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Empress T on the line. And today she's going to cover a topic that I'm not sure how she picked this, but let the listeners know exactly what this topic is about. Quite interesting topic.
Yes, actually, it turned out to be quite an interesting topic, more than I thought it would be. And how I selected it was, I guess it was on Saturday on my regular runnings. I ran into a woman who not only complimented my hair, I had it out that day, but we went on to have a long conversation about how she also had locks for, a number of years. I believe she said nearly 20 years. And when I met her, she was just about bald. She was shaven, like she had shaved her hair. She had a very short haircut. And she was just explaining that, it was time for a change and how she just wanted to change, but that sometimes she, thinks about her locks. She didn't really say that she missed them, but she just had indicated that she just needed to, get rid of them. And it just started me to thinking, would I or could I ever cut my hair again? I've had my locks now for about 15 years. And my son has never had a haircut. In fact, none of my sons have had haircuts. Their father had locks down, as well. So it just started me thinking about hair again and, some of the things that people attribute to hair. Does it have any spiritual connection, or is it just something that we culturally adapt, or, is it religious? What about hair? So here we are. We're going to talk about hair and, what it means to us, how much importance we attribute to it and what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Quite interesting. And you've sent some photos in. And folks, I know many of you are listening on your telephone, on Skype, on your TuneIn and the various devices. But if you get the chance to come into the chat room and look at some of these photographs, I'm wondering if some of these are real. But I know we're going to touch on that later. Now, how are you going to walk us through the presentation today?
Okay, today we're going to discuss hair from a scientific point of view, meaning biologically. So we're going to break it down biologically, then we're going to go through socially and culturally and also religion-wise, so that I hope to end on a religious note. Now, the thing about this topic that I've found the most fascinating was that this is a topic that has been explored since the beginning of man. And, as much as we like to think that hair is just trending now, long hair is just trending now, this has been something that's been going on. It's been a phenomenon for quite some time. The thing that I wanted to say first was that besides human beings, only orangutans and horses, from what I gathered, are the only beings that grow hair on their heads, like the way that we do. And, the purpose of hair basically is to provide thermal insulation from the sun and to also protect us from the UV rays. It also keeps us cool, and it also provides insulation, I guess, in the wintertime. It gives us, a way to keep some body heat into our body. We have eyelashes, so eyelashes prevent bugs and debris from getting in our eyes. We have ear hair. They do the same thing. We have nose hair, along with preventing debris from going into our nose. Nose hair also regulates the temperature of the air that we inhale, which was something I didn't know. I'm sure many of you have had an instance where you inhaled air that was too cold or too hot, and it kind of like shocks you on the inside. And then we have body hair, and that's connected to our touch receptors, as sensory. Now, when I did my research, there were a lot of sites that were stating that hair is connected to the nervous system. I could not find any scientific basis for that. What I did find was that hair is connected to the integumentary system, which is our skin, basically. skin and everything on it. And so hair is an accessory structure. Hair, along with our sweat glands and nails, they're all part of the skin system, the integumentary system, but the hair and the nails are an accessory. And so basically, in the beginning, you know, when you think about it, there were no salons back in the days, right? So, you know, the act of cutting hair is something that came about as men became socialized. I think that's the best way to say it. So now, from a scientific standpoint, hair is a thread of fused dead keratinized cells. Now, keratinized just means that it's cells on top of cells on top of cells. Our skin is actually keratinized. And the inside of our mouth, anywhere where we have tough skin, is just basically keeping in all the other organs and all the cells. It's like a layer. So the hair is like the hardest. It's the strongest of our fused cells. Nails are pretty tough too, but hair is often the strongest. In fact, I think they did a test where they put a strand of hair on a flat surface and rolled a steam roller over it, and the hair actually left an imprint on the roller, just to show you how coarse and how tough it can be. Hair has two main parts: the hair shaft that sticks out, which we all see, and the hair root, which is below the skin. There are basically three layers to hair. The medulla, which is the innermost layer, but that's only found on head hair, sorry. And then there's the cortex, which is the middle layer. The cortex is what gives us the texture, the color, and the strength of our hair. And then there's the cuticle. The cuticle just is the outer layer, I guess like the enamel around, and that's just clear. And we have about, I would say, 100 to 150,000 hairs on our head, and somewhere about 2.5 million hairs all over our body. So that even though you don't see them, you know, we have hair all over our body. The only places that we don't have hair are on the palms of our hands and on the soles of our feet. Everywhere else on your body is covered in hair.
Interesting.
Yes. We lose between 60 to 150 strands of hair a day. And, you know, that all has to do with the hair cycles. Our hair basically has a hair growth cycle anywhere from 2 to 7 years. And so what that means that at any one time, a piece of hair that's growing out of a hair shaft can live and continue to grow from 2 to 6 years continuously before it sheds and a new hair grows from the same follicle. And the importance of the follicles is that's what keeps the hair number count on our body. So like while people are concerned about damaging their hair, it's not the hair. We have to take care of the follicles. Because once that follicle is damaged, no more hair can grow from it. But as long as it's a living, viable follicle, hair will continue to grow. And it grows in shifts. So you'll have one strand of hair that'll grow, like I said, for maybe 7 years. And then what happens is it'll take a break. And in that break, it can be a break from anywhere from a month to 3 months. And then it'll start growing again.
You know,
and so,
sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought. Sorry.
Yeah, and so, you know, that was just it. And like this slide, the slide that you just showed, if you could go back, I'm not sure if you have control of going back. If you can go back, you can see that any point in time, we are experiencing all 4 of these hair stages on our head. And that's called the anagen, the catagen, the telogen, and the exogen. And what those are the different phases. The anagen is the growing phase. If you can go back one slide more, Rula.
On this?
Where you'll see, yes. where you'll see the hair follicles. There's a slide.
Yes,
and it shows that at every time, every hair on our head is in a different point. So that you might have some that are in the anagen stage, the growing phase. You'll have some that are in the catechin stage. There you go. That's a great one. And you'll have some that's in the telogen stage or the exogen stage. So that you see that it's constantly growing. But so long as it's in the growing phase, it stays in the hair follicle, as long as that hair follicle is safeguarded and, fortified with nutrients and things like that. As long as you're getting the right vitamins, then that hair will continue to grow. Your hair grows an average of 0.5 inch per month. And it can take up to about, 10 years for it to grow 5 feet. If you were to just let it grow, it'll just grow on its own and it'll stop on its own.
Now, as you talk, there are so many questions one could raise based on what they've experienced and so forth. And you've touched on a couple of things. One, the first thing comes to mind. You said the hair grows X amount of dimension per month. Is that a true equation if you're even up there in age, for example?
Yes. The difference in age is that our hormones thin out some of the follicles. And depending on if you're a male or if you're a female, it does have an effect and it does have a bearing on it. Men tend to lose their follicles. And that's why they have hair loss. And I don't know if I sent it to you. They experience hair loss in different types of patterns, depending on the hormones and the rate of, the rate of their hormones decreasing. Because men lose hormones in a different way. So for women, when we experience menopause, we experience that drop in hormones. It's like an instant drop. It's not a gradual thing. For men, it tapers off, but for women, it's instantaneous. And so women will experience hair loss in the middle more portion, whereas men get it in the front and in the back and some on the sides. It follows a different pattern.
All right. You can continue your prepared approach to make a presentation. I ask questions as I go along. If anyone would like to call in and ask Empress Tee a question, the number here is 770-744-2154. 770-744-2154. If you want to engage any questions, concerns, observations, anyone you know that their hair doesn't mesh with what Empress Tee is saying, call and challenge the case. One of the things...
Well, there's not really anything to challenge. The reason why I say that is because, we haven't even gotten into it yet. So just hang on, folks. Hold on to your britches for a moment, and maybe you'll find that there's something to challenge. Now, as far as like letting the hair grow, what I found was between the East and the West is where you would think you would have the most discrepancy over whether hair should be long or short. But what I found was that it was more a cultural thing. Long ago, like I said, there were no barbers, there were no salons. So, no, people didn't get their hair cut. People weren't into cutting their hair. And it really wasn't until groups of people started going around and conquering other groups of people and enslaving them, then they used it as a sign of enslavement. And, it was basically a sign of enslavement, of dominance. And for someone like Genghis Khan, who conquered, many, many nations, he was particular with the Chinese in that he cut them bangs. And the reason why he cut the bangs was because he understood that they believed in their third eye, the power of the third eye, and that they knew that there was a spiritual connection between their hair and their energy inside their bodies. And so what he did as a punishment was he cut bangs, and thereby it covered their third eye. And, his hope was to break their intuition and cut down some of their power. So that, like I say, we didn't start really seeing people, the trend for cutting hair until nations were being conquered. And then from then on, it started to catch on as that. Now, you have some cultures around the world that might have worn their hair a little shorter, because then, you have the length of hair being relative to where you are. So that shoulder length to us might be long here in the West, but over in the East, it might not be long enough. So that was the biggest thing. And then you had like the Egyptians, which I found really interesting. The Egyptians, they believed that hair was shameful and unclean. And they shaved and removed all hair from their bodies, from every part of their body. And they only believed that animals and barbarians were the ones to have hair, or, lower levels, so that if you weren't sophisticated or if you weren't the higher rank, then, you would have hair. And what they did was they made the wigs, because, when you think of Egyptians, everyone thinks of their wigs and their long hair wigs, and they don't realize that they just made the wigs to protect against the sun, so that they had some of it, but they were just obsessive with their body hygiene to the point where they just removed the hair unnecessarily. The other cultures at that time, found them to be strange, because they knew that hair was important. Hair served a purpose. Otherwise, our bodies wouldn't have it.
As a matter of fact, I'm seeing something here that in the Old Testament, and the Nazarites would go for long periods of time without cutting their hair to show devotion to God.
Yes, I'm going to talk about the Nazarites as a matter of fact. For people who don't know who the Nazarites are, the Nazarites were people who took the vow. They took the vow on themselves. They willfully, on their own, took the vow according to numbers in the Bible. And the people always talk about them because not cutting their hair was one of the vows that they take. It's one of the requirements. But the reason why that they don't cut their hair is just for a period of time, and it is just it's almost like a bond. It just shows a commitment to what they're doing. When they take their vows, it could be a forever vow, or it could be just for a period of time, just to get through something. So it all depended. But with the Nazarites, they always end with cutting their hair. And that's something that people don't know. Or I should say that's something that I didn't know. The word Nazir comes from the Hebrew language, and it means to consecrate or to separate yourself. So what they did was, like I said, they took the vow on their own. That was their decision. And they took the vow to abstain from grapes, from any type of grapes, wine vinegar, raisins, anything intoxicating, anything to do with grapes. And like I said, they refrained from cutting their hair and avoid any contact with death, corpses or graves or anything. And, after their time period of their vow, whatever the time is that they set, they were to make a sacrifice. They would sacrifice a ewe, which was a sin offering. Then they would sacrifice a lamb, which was a burnt offering. And then they'd sacrifice a ram, which was a peace offering. And then they'd finally sacrifice their hair. They would shave their hair and add it to the burning offering as well. And see, that's something that a lot of people didn't know. Two famous Nazarites, I guess, that people know from the Bible are Samson, and he got his strength from the Philistines. He got his strength to fight against the Philistines, and Samuel, who became a prophet. Now, the thing about the Nazarites is that you can only become a Nazarite if someone makes the vow for you. So like a mother can vow for her son's life, which is what happened with Samson. Or they can take the vow on their own. Now, I don't know, does anyone want to challenge that?
No, I'm reading something here, not part of the slide that you sent, and I want to talk about this part of it, because one of the things I've always heard in Jamaica that look, Yeah, for strength, you need to have a hair, grow out, not to cut it. Just like you just talked about Samson, that example and so forth. Now, isn't there a health risk with your hair being too long? The weight of it, it can create a strain on your spine and in your neck area. What's the story there?
Well, the thing about it is that the what I found was the people who were generally wearing their hair long like that, and I didn't get to it yet because I was going to talk about the yogis and the Sikh Indians. There's a balancing that goes along with it. So that, yeah, it could cause a strain, but that's not what the focus is. That, I think, strain is more common now because I don't want to say the hygiene practices, but the way that people are maintaining their hair is not the same way. So that they're using a lot of waxes and things like that to create the dreads, and those things cause the buildup and the extra weight, because basically hair is dead. So it's almost lifeless. Yes, it has a weight, but it's not supposed to be so weighted. And if you do it the way that the religious practices say, it's balanced on top of your head in a way that it's not supposed to weight it down. And then the rest, you carry around. So you balance it, you work it with your body. So it's not a hindrance. But yeah, it could become a problem. Some people say it's an issue. I know the woman that the Guinness World Records was trying to have placed as the person with the longest hair. She complained often about strain in her neck. But it could be, how she's nurturing it, how she's carrying it. She might not have it wrapped right. Maybe she needs a different sack, or I don't know. Yeah, it could potentially, but it shouldn't be an issue. And if it is, then maybe you need to trim it a little bit.
Yeah, let me pass on some info here. It says the maximum hair length that is possible to reach is about 15 centimeters, which is 6 inches for infants below the age of 1, about 60 centimeters, 24 inches for children, and generally 100 centimeters, 40 inches for adults. Documentations for decrease of the maximum length with age cannot be found in the literature. Some individuals can reach excessive lengths greater than 150 centimeters, which is 59 inches. That's what, 12.5? That's about 5 feet. Are frequently observed in long hair contests. Here, check this out now. Xi Jinping had the longest documented hair in the world, measuring 5.627 meters, which is 18 feet, 5 inches in May 2004.
And there's a picture of him.
That's the one?
Give you a picture of him as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up and his name, because, the first inclination is for people to say, oh, long hair, also you're a Rasta. But I purposely sent you pictures of Asian men more so than Rastas with the dreads, because I wanted people to understand that dreadlocks have been around way before Rastas, way before Jamaica. Like I said, people were wearing their hair long since man was around. The reason why the Rastafarians picked it up, they picked up some of the parts in Leviticus. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering all morning. They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cutting in the flesh. They also, took parts of the Nazarite vows. They followed the Nazarite closely. I don't know how closely they can follow it, because I don't know where you can find a lamb and a ewe and a ram these days to make your sacrifices. But, they mirror a lot of their ways. And some of it comes from the Bible. But, like I said, dreadlocks predates even the Bible. What you were talking about with the energy, and is there ever a reason? Does it cause any harm? Is there any scientific factor? Some people say that when you shave your head, you lose body energy. And it can cause you to be tired, more tired. It can cause you to be more cold. It can cause you to lose perception. But, you know, it's all a matter of, like I said, it's all relative to what you think and where you're from and what you grew up knowing. Now, the Sikhs or the yogis, they believe that, you know, definitely hair is for a reason. Not only does it protect our physical bodies, but they believe that it protected our spiritual bodies. Because, you know, if you know about your spiritual body inside, we have the pineal gland, we have solar sensors, we have the chakras, so that, you know, hair in different placement on our bodies protects those areas as well. Primarily the hair on your head, they believe was more like a conductor. They believe that through your hair, you can introduce more energy into your body, and by coiling it a certain way. So like you'll see the Indian Sikhs, they have their hair twisted and coiled at the top of their hair to the front more portion. That's where they believe the solar energy from men is housed. And so that protects it and keeps it there. And it's like an antenna. So it's absorbing more energy as the day goes on and gives you that spiritual balance.
All right, we're going to take a station ID here. Folks, we're speaking to Empress T, and it's, you know...
You are now listening to RBN Network.
All right, it's a high frequency. It's 11 o'clock. We're speaking with Empress T. She's talking about hair. All these photographs you look at. It's a whole bunch of questions come to my mind. For one thing...
Go ahead. I didn't get into the military yet, but go ahead.
Yeah, how the heck them people are wash for them here? It seems like you need an army to come and wash. Imagine 18 feet long, 10 feet long, washing your hair. So how healthy can that get? Isn't there a lot of accumulation of debris and soot and dust that gathers in these hair? How that keep them healthy?
Well, you would wash your hair the same way you wash your hair when it's short.
No, man. Oh, you said that. You can't say that. No, man.
I wash my hair. I don't wash my hair probably as often as some people, but, you know, that's also relative, too, because different textures require more washing than others. Now, my daughter, her hair texture is such that she requires more washing, so she washes her hair more frequently than I do. I have dreads. I don't have to wash it as often. And the other thing is that because I keep them clean, they're not so dirty. I keep them covered so they don't absorb a lot of debris. I don't use a lot of chemicals. In fact, I don't use any chemicals, so there's no buildup. You wash it.
No, I understand where you're coming from, but there are many people out there, a lot of rastas, a lot of dreads. Their hair is super long. I'm looking at this one photo now. Your hair may not be anywhere close to these guys. I'm just thinking of the extreme cases. How these guys handle these situations.
And those people that are extreme like that, trust me, Rula, are living near big bodies of water, like salt water. Mm-hmm. That's more, you are going to salt water, and that salt water is going to extract any type of debris. It's going to purify your hair. It's going to really do your hair good. And then you go out in the sun and you let the sun bake and dry it. Mm-hmm. And, it's really not that big of a deal. A lot of people would think it's a hard and arduous task, an inconvenience, but it becomes you. Like I said, it just becomes you. And the more you clean it, it just stays clean so that you only have to wash the hair mostly on your scalp, because that's where you sweat. There's where you would have new chances. Today, there's lots of fake rastas, or I won't call them fake rastas. There's a lot of people walking around with dreadlocks that are disgusting, that stink. Yes, that is true. But that's because they didn't do the correct research. They're putting wax in their hair, like I said, that creates a buildup and becomes a magnet for debris. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that the people with long hair, they're practicing good hygiene. They're practicing good hygiene. They keep their hair clean. There's ways to clean it. There's ways to keep it oiled certain oils keep it clean. Almond oil, coconut oil also has antiseptic properties. So there's ways to keep it clean. It's really not, it's really not that bad.
Well, I hear you. Me know my hair is only what half an inch long, if that much. I may have a problem with washing my hair, much as somebody how much feet long. But I hear you.
And I wanted to talk about short hair too, because I don't want people to feel like because they don't have hair, they're missing out or something wrong. I think short hair caught on mostly in the West during times of war.
Before we go to the short hair, just hold it out there. Two quick questions I want to ask you. When someone goes to bed and these people with their long locks, what's the comfort level like? I'm not saying, like you said, but I'm just looking at the photos that you've sent me, these guys with these extremely long locks. How does that work? And then the other thing I want to ask you is about at what point someone's hair start to go gray, change color. I don't know if you're going to touch that later. So whichever way you want to take it, if you want to go to the short hair or any mix. Any mix.
We can finish with the long hair. From experience, I can tell you with my locks, and this is why I feel like they are part of my body. Uh-huh. What science shows us is that because of the way the hair grows out of the shaft, if you cut a strand of hair, it's not going to hurt you. You're not going to say, ow, you're not going to bleed. It's not going to hurt you.
Right.
However, that strand is connected to the hair follicle, as I said. And I believe there was a slide that showed that each and every hair follicle has a muscle attached to it. And so that if the hair is not positioned right, it can be extremely uncomfortable to sleep in. But I think that's even with people with, shoulder length hair. If it's not set the right way and the follicles are not sitting the right way, you're gonna experience discomfort because it's in your head. Right. And so, like for me, as my hair has grown and as it's growing, I have to I adjust it. I wrap it differently. Sometimes I wrap it up higher. Sometimes I wrap it lower. Sometimes I leave it out. I generally don't leave it out at night because I find that it dries. Sometimes it can be drying, and it'll dry up. And I tend to keep it wrapped also because you can get tangled.
Right.
I know that's crazy. A lot of people think long hair is really attractive, and I didn't get to that yet too, about women and long hair and how it's attached to their sexuality and their fertility. And all those things are great and wonderful, but sometimes when you're sleeping, it's just in the way. So, you want to wrap it and you want to wind it around your head in a way, a loose line or a loose coil, and cover it. And it's really not that big of a deal. A lot of women get these fancy, elaborate hairstyles and weaves, and it's sort of the same thing because they have to sleep in a certain position so that their hair follicles more so than the hair or the hairdo is not disturbed.
Let me ask you this. It's I think I've heard this when I was in Jamaica, that if you notice, a lot of these folks that have these long hair, and it may not necessarily be true because I can think of the opposite being the case. But let me know what you think. I've heard that folks that have these super long locks, it usually have them looking very thin. Very thin, I mean, they're just very slim built. Is that the hair is sucking the whatever luster,
the essence out of them? I've never heard that.
Never heard that. Okay.
I've never heard that, but what I did hear was that when you don't have the hair, every time you cut your hair, you cause your body to go through a surge of having to replace that hair that you cut. Because as you had the slide up there and I was showing you the hair in each follicle, when you cut your hair, you interrupt the growth cycle.
Right.
And now your body has to compensate for that interruption. And so every time you interrupt that cycle with a haircut, you force your body to emit more energy, more spiritual energy and more physical energy, because it has to recreate those cells. It has to regenerate new cells. Every time you cut it, it's got to regenerate new cells. So if anything, I feel like cutting your hair is more a depletion than anything. There's ways, to stimulate it. Just because you have short hair, it's not always a bad thing. Some people like short hair. I sent you also slides of women with short hair. You'd be surprised. Back in the day, like I said, we didn't have salons and beauty salons and barbershops, so that your hair was part of who you were. And a lot of times you were judged on fertility and healthiness by your hair. Because only the healthiest people can have healthy hair. Your hair is a reflection of your energy, of your physical and emotional energy. So that women and men that had, healthy manes of hair were usually selected and chosen first. It was attributed to your fertility. And, like I said, through the times with war and conquering and stuff, the styles and things like that changed. And more so for men in the West with the Industrial Revolution and with the war, the Industrial Revolution, they were working with machines. The hair would get tangled up. They weren't on a farm, with a different culture. So they started cutting their hair a little shorter so that they can work in these factories. The same with the women, men too in wartime. The Romans, they cut their hair more so to fit them under the helmet, things like that. Wartime here after World War I, when they were in the trenches, they were exposed to fleas and lice.
All right.
And so the order was to shave the head. So then it just became the norm. That became, one of the standards for the military, no hair. But then you go to Indian culture or Native American culture where they say that, during that time they cut their hair because they didn't want to get scalped. They kept their hair short. It prevented you from getting scalped as easy, things like that. So it really just depends on the time, what was going on.
All right, I have two questions come to mind. One, I mentioned it earlier, I didn't hear you touch on it. And the first question is, why does my hair go gray or other people's hair go gray? And the question I have after that is, how does diabetes affect your hair growth?
The graying of the hair has to do with the hormones more than anything. Because your hormones control, send out other chemicals to your body. I didn't go into it scientifically. I didn't want to, but it all has to do with the hormones. So that, when the reduction of hormones, like I said, for women is different. When they're approaching menopause, the hormone depletion goes down, and what happens is the color changes. But the gray, from what I understood, is replacing the hormones. The graying, for whatever reason, like I said, I didn't get into the technicalities of it, but the graying allows the nutrients to be replaced that you're losing from the hormones. It's a really intricate synergistic thing that goes on, but it has to do with hormones. But I do have some nutrients and vitamin recommendations that you can do to help slow it down. You can't stop it because, like I said, our bodies have a natural cycle that we go through, regardless of what. Some people's cycles are a little longer, some people's cycles are a little shorter, but we still have to go through certain cycles. I've met people. I knew there was a girl in 7th grade who practically had a full head of gray hair.
Wow.
But her body composition was different. Then you have things like, vitiligo and leukoderma that affect the melanin and things like that. So there's always there's different factors, but mostly people that have gray hair have to do with the hormones and getting on in age and life cycles.
I asked about the diabetes. I don't know if you want to touch on that. I'm looking at one of the slides I could.
Now, the diabetes, I didn't get into as much as I wanted to. That also has to do with the depletion and the the formation of the cells in our bodies. So I guess the assumption is that depending on the sugar level, it emits different levels, different cell levels. It affects the cell levels, which affects how your hair can grow, because you need certain cells for your hair to grow properly.
Let me just add from the chart here. It says diabetes. This disorder results in little or no insulin to regulate the blood glucose level. And they say hair loss, abnormal functioning of the immune system causes slow hair production.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all linked in. It's all linked into good nutrition.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's good nutrition, and also stimulating the hair follicles. What I was saying is that each follicle has a muscle attached to it. There is where you get your hair on your arms that raise up, or on the back of your neck, or even on your head. If you're sensitive enough, sometimes when you're nervous or when you're stressed, you can feel the hair on your head stand up, and there's where you get that expression. Made the hair on my head stand up. That's a great slide. The glands, the oil glands, they keep the hair moisturized, so it's not so dry. But again, if your body doesn't have the right nutrients to produce the oil, then it's almost a losing battle. And what the oil does is it keeps that follicle viable.
Beverly Morgan says when her mother was sick with diabetes, her hair grew very long. No. Okay. You sent me a photo of our president, Mr. Obama. Hair nice and dark and low cut and everything.
Crew cut. I was going into all the different styles of haircuts that we have rocked throughout times. We have crew cut it seemed like crew cuts were more for straight hair people, and fades were more for my people.
I more wanted to touch about him being great over the years he's been in office with stress and so forth. Talk about stress, or what this all means.
Yeah, that's part of the energy loss. I bet you if he had some hair on there, it wouldn't be as gray, because he could wrap it up, as he's dealing with these various people, various energies.
Right.
Yeah, that's a depletion. That comes from stress. Stress depletes your vitamin B's. Stress attacks your B. Well, I can't just say one vitamin, but stress, as you know, we covered that, depletes your body. It causes your body to really deplete. Some of the first signs of stress are graying of hair, weight gain, things like that, graying of the skin. When you start losing those vitamins, when you start stressing like that and vitamins get shifted here and shifted there, the nutrients are not going to where they're supposed to. I wish I had put the photo of when he first started, and now he looks drained. He actually looks, drained. He looks like they have sucked the life out of him. And the only time that I thought he looked a little more lively was when he was at the Black church. And I attributed it to him being around our people and vibing off of that energy.
Okay.
But
all right, folks.
I don't know.
All right, folks. It's 11:15, and we're talking about hair and what it all means. What kind of hair you have? What cause your hair for
you
the
are
great?
now listening to RBN Network.
All right, you have some other prepared information you want to pass on. Go ahead, please.
Yes, and so like some reasons, because then you have some people that say, well, I'm not doing long hair anymore. For women particularly, because, I also notice a trend of when women get older, for some reason, they chop off their hair. And I'm trying to understand why, because I'm not going to do that. At this point in my life, I just don't see me headed in that direction. But as a child, that was just something that always, to use your word, baffled me. I didn't understand why these women that I grew up knowing that had full heads of hair would, suddenly just go and cut it off.
Well, could it be?
And-
Could it be? Could it be the manageability of it? After a while, they don't want to be bothering doing this and doing that to their hair, so just keep it low because it's lower maintenance. Could it be that?
Yes, it has to do with that, and also, like I said, hormone-wise, it changes the makeup of your hair, so that hair becomes a little more brittle. It might be a little more dry, requiring more, more care. It might be a little thin. You might not be able to keep it in the style you want it to. So yeah, the tendency is to cut it. Another thing that I found is that for a lot of women, sometimes they lose their husband as they get on in age, and they just want to change. They want a complete and total change. So that some women say, "Oh, I've had long hair since I was in high school and married my husband. I want a change now. I want to look different. I want to feel different. I'm a different woman." And so they attribute it to a fresh start.
Because Empress, think about it now. Empress, Empress, or not just you, but anyone, up to the age of 80, 85, have this long super duper dreadlocks behind you. I mean, it's going to look hard, so maybe, that could
Well, here's the thing. When you met me 30 years ago. I don't know if you remember, I had a pixie haircut.
Okay, I don't remember.
See, and that's something that a lot of people don't remember about me at that time. I definitely chopped off all of my hair when I went to college. My family had a fit, but I felt liberated. I felt like I finally was able to make decisions for myself and make changes and do what I wanted to do. Did I have regrets? No. I rocked my pixie haircut. I went down to the islands. I had it bleached. I had it blonde. I had streak. You understand what I'm saying? So I wore my pixie hair. But again, as I said, for women and even men, different stages of our lives call for different hairstyles. So what I've learned is that a lot of our energy of ourselves is in that, or can be in the hair. And, depending on where you are. So you can always grow it back. That's the good thing about hair. Like I said, for a change, there's some women that have short hair and they look beautiful in it. And there's those same women that can have long hair and still look beautiful in it. So, for some people, it's a matter of confidence. They feel that they were more confident when they cut their hair. Because they hid behind their hair. So a lot of people who have hair and it's long, and they say, well, they don't have to do anything because their hair is long. No, you still have to wash it. You still have to maintain it. You still have to style it. You know what I'm saying? If the hair doesn't speak for you, it's part of you. So some people, like I said, some women cut their hair for a change, or some people cut it and donate it. There's a big trend in that too. A lot of people nowadays have cancer. There wasn't a big trend with cancer before, but if you know anything about cancer treatments, the chemotherapy destroys your hair. A lot of the treatment for cancer, it gets rid of the cancer, but it also gets rid of hair. And so what these women do is they cut their hair and they donate it, and wigs are made for children, wigs are made for other women who still want hair but don't have it at that time.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if you know the answer to this. Are there rare cases, very rare cases, I would imagine, of someone being born with no hair, which, a lot of times...
Oh, yeah. They have skin conditions, definitely. And alopecia. There's definitely biological, scientific conditions that prevent that.
Oh, so even though they don't born with hair, after a while, is it possible to grow hair, or they would just have no hair forever?
No, I'm not sure if they ever do grow it. I think it has to do with their glands and the follicles and things like that. But I have heard of instances where they don't.
Oh, okay.
Any more than that, I personally don't know. No.
Right. Okay.
So, and like people with short hair, I was going to say, if you do want spiritual energy, you can still get it. And what they recommend is, like, if you have short hair, what you would do is you would take a comb, and they recommend a wooden comb because it doesn't create static energy, and comb your hair from front to back, and then comb it from back to front, and then comb it from right to left, and comb it from left to right. And you'll start to feel your scalp tingle. And that's a way of, jump-starting, giving you a little bit of energy, kick-starting some little energy in your head. And also it's a good way to relieve some stress at the end of the day. You'd be surprised how much of your body absorbs your stress, too. And so through your hair, you can get it off. If you've had a particularly stressful day and your hair's not so long, wash it. You'd be surprised how just the act of washing your hair, it almost washes away the emotions. It allows you to get it off. Because imagine the emotions well up in your head. You're thinking all the time. You're stressed. It's in your head. But when you wash it, you kind of release that energy and the tension with it.
All right. I think, if I remember correctly, I remember back home, I usually hear them say you need to, men, I think, should be washing their head once a day, and women, I guess the periods are a little longer. But let me add this in it, and I know you're big into oils and so forth. Peppermint oil. I have this thing called peppermint. Very nice fragrance, nice, pungent, stingy feel to it. If I'm washing my hair, I put some of that in my hair. It feels extremely good. What do you say about putting stuff like that in your hair when you're washing it?
Oh, excellent. I'm all for it. Not only is it good for your hair and your hair follicles, it is good, like you said. It must make your hair feel cool. Your scalp automatically is going to feel cool, almost as though it's open.
Right.
And that's great for your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is right there. That's the gland that's responsible for visualization, so that, if you're trying to accomplish a goal, or you're trying to get to somewhere in life, or even just want to reach a higher spiritual level, you want to deal with your pineal gland. So anything that's going to stimulate it and get it activated is always good. And like I said, along with the peppermint, bring a brush in there and brush your hair to the front, brush your hair to the back, brush it to the side, brush it to the other side, and you'll feel, along with the peppermint, you're going to feel it. It's like an awakening, like charges set off in your scalp. And it's really good. It's really relaxing. You can even do it if you have a bald head. If you have a bald head, take like a boar's head brush. They're really soft bristle, the soft bristle boar head, not the hard one. And just brush your scalp the same way. It's like a massage. And stimulate your brain cells there.
Yeah, I need some of that to get my brains to be stimulated.
and it feels good. It gets you tingly. Like it's a nice tingly thing.
Yeah.
Nice tingly sensation. I'm trying to look in here and see if any.
All right. Before we go there, Beverly Morgan. See you later. Beverly Morgan has to rush off. I tell her eye doctor to call in and talk to her. She's going to her eye doctor. Big up to Beverly Morgan.
Yes. Bye, Miss Bev. Bye, Miss Bev.
Yeah.
And I wanted to welcome the Elliott family from Springfield, Mass. They're joining us. And
in Springfield.
Also, I believe Andrew Wolford and, forgetting one, James Parrish. These are some of my Facebook people who've known me. They've also known me through my various hairstyles. I'm one of those people that have, I've done it. As a child, my mother didn't allow me to do anything but wear braids and natural hair. And I hated it because everyone else had a perm, and I just had to have a perm or a hot comb, straight, anything. I just wanted to be in, and she said no. And the moment that she allowed me to do it, I think I went crazy.
Now, you said it's 15 years now since you've cut your hair. How long is your hair? And, obviously yours probably stopped growing beyond a certain point, right?
Well, actually, Rula, I believe I have a very long hair cycle. I believe I'm at the furthest end of the hair cycle, where they said hair cycles are between 2 and 7 years. And The only reason why I say that is because my hair is very, very long. And so that if someone has a hair cycle that's 2 years long, so that means every 2 years it's growing, then it stops. So the hair doesn't really have a potential to grow but so long. So like for me, I feel I have a very long hair cycle. It hasn't stopped growing. There was a period, I would say maybe about 5 years ago, where I thought it was where I noticed that it had slowed down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so, my hair, I have a very long hair cycle. My hair and my nails grow very quickly. Even when I kept it short, I was one of those, every 2-3 weeks I was getting it trimmed back up because, I wanted my pixie cut. As I was saying, as a child, I had natural hair. I had an afro, and I kept that cut, a certain height, but it was natural, and it was not during a time when people were wearing them. But the trend now, again, goes back to more natural hair. I don't know, with that, but then you asked me another question.
The next question is lost in my hair. I forget what it was. All right. Let me say this. When you go and find these topics and bring them out, we don't know which one you're going to bring, but this one is quite interesting. And I know a lot of people out there listening probably have a ton load of questions that they would love to call in and ask. But we're running out of time. I have a photo of this lady. She's sitting on some flooring, and her hair is all sprung out maybe 12, 13 feet, right? Nice and black and everything. No, how can one tell when? Because sometimes people go out and take weaves, locks.
And that was, yes. Now, see, with her picture, I really didn't want to include her. If you notice, I don't know if you noticed, I sent you 3 sets of pictures.
Right.
And most of them, I try to get the most generic of people, meaning that I know for sure they didn't go and add a weave, or they didn't go and reattach a broken dread or something like that.
Right.
And what was significant about this woman, I forget her name at the moment, is that the Guinness Book of World Records had her as documented as having the longest locks.
Oh.
But what they discovered was that when they started doing more research on the matter, they started realizing that, our people add in hair.
Ah.
We have weaves, we have extensions, people reattach dreads and, do all these weird things. So they determined that they were never going to be able to really know if it was authentic, like you said, or not. And so they closed that title now.
Ah.
That is no longer a category because because of things like that, because we do use weave and we do use extensions and things like that. But if you see a picture of a yogi up in the hills, we know for a fact he didn't go and, add some more hair in because he wants to make sure they're all the same length. This is all natural and true.
We have a news break. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a news break. A news break, Toronto Queen, original. Lady is in the chat room. Toronto Queen, good afternoon. How you doing, my lady? She just says,
hi, TQ.
Yeah, TQ.
Hugs to you, hugs to you, hugs to you.
Yes, indeed. A lot of people always ask about her in the chat room. And she was the one that gives you the report coming out of Canada. Well, she's been doing some other work, so she's not readily available. I want to thank her. And she just paid for her Palace Scholarship a couple of days ago. I want to big up to Toronto Queen. Her and Beverly Morgan, the first 2 persons ever combined and gave a computer to these students. And that's how we started the idea. You see that? It was Beverly Morgan and Toronto Queen first came up with the idea of giving computers to students. That was 5 years ago when I first did it. And it's now sprung into effect where we've given some about 40 computers since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
All right.
Welcome back.
All right, TQ, just wrap it for us. I love the presentation, and it's going to be available on all the social networks for people to go in and see some of the imagery, that a ton load of imagery that was provided. And I've scanned through some of them as TQ, as Empress T was talking. Go ahead.
Now, just to end it off, so, the thing with hair, like I said, is It's all from your body. If you want to make sure you have nice, natural, shiny hair, healthy-looking hair, you need the right nutrients. Whether your hair is short, whether your hair is long, you still need the right nutrients. If your hair is short, your follicles still need the right nutrients. You don't just have hair on your head. As I said, you have hair everywhere. We have hair in our armpits. That's to protect the glands there, the lymphatic glands. We have hair in our pubic area. That's to protect our reproductive organs. You know, I didn't really want to do too much on body hair, but there's a lot of senseless hair removal that goes on, and people need to understand that hair is placed on our bodies for a reason. And, you know, we need to leave it there.
All right. Well, we're gonna.
But wait, let me just run through some things that you can eat to give you your hair, to make your hair nice. If you for shine, you can have salmon. Salmon provides you with omega-3 fatty acids. Our body does not produce omega-3s on its own, so we need to add that into our bodies, and that's for shiny hair. That's also for nice, healthy, supple skin. Yogurt can provide us with vitamin B5, and that prevents thinning and hair loss. So if you're experiencing any type of hair loss or thinning, amp up your vitamin B. Really, you can amp up all your B vitamins. But vitamin B provides you with the biotin that keeps it from being brittle. So, you know, eggs, yogurt, those things are going to give you the B vitamins. Spinach will give you vitamin A and C. Kale, too, will help keep your scalp healthy. The A and C, and C also prevents breakage. So if you like guava, I like a lot of fruits and things. So if you like guava, you can get a lot of C from that. Also, any orange fruits and veggies like pumpkin, cantaloupe, mango, those things also provide the hair with a lot of nutrients. They're a rich source of vitamin A for your hair. Is very good. Iron, you need dark leafy vegetables. The iron, the protein, these are all things that help. Cinnamon helps with the circulation so that the blood flows to the hair follicles the right way. Zinc, the most important, because it goes toward the cells that build the hair. So, you know, oysters are a good source of zinc. So, you know, just continue. If you follow the holistic, whole food diet that we've always talked about, whether your hair is long or short, it should be shiny, it should be nice, your energy should be beaming. And those who do have long hair, wash your hair, sit in the sun, let the sun dry your hair, let the vitamin D absorb into, you know, let the hair be like little sponges for energy, and use the energy and get the vitamins.
Wow.
And that was basically it.
Lot of good information today. I'm sure once the video is like 1 hour and 4 minutes long, they'll be able to check this out, because I tell you, a lot of good information. I'm gonna have it up on the various networks, from Dig, Facebook, also on MySpace, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. We're gonna gulp it down like Toronto Queen said. Once a big up to Toronto Queen in the chat room. Hey, I'll give Toronto Queen a big shout out on TQ Empress Tweet before you go.
Yes, love and blessings, Toronto Queen. It's so nice to see you. When you're not here, I feel a little unbalanced. There's certain people in the RBN nation that I look for. You all know who you are. It's the Four Berries.
Indeed.
You know, we're the Big Deal family here, but it's just so nice to have you back. And please, I hope you can call in on one of my next segments so we can hear your voice again. That's what we miss more than anything.
That's a good thing, because I know Toronto Queen, she's into a lot of outdoor activities. So maybe she can mention one of these that are tied into higher frequency. That's a great idea.
Yeah, maybe we can do a segment together. Have a lot of good ideas on tap. I'll reach out to you via Facebook, and let's see what we can get together. Her voice is so soothing and calm. I would love to do a segment with her.
I think that's a great idea, and I'm sure through Facebook, you and her will come up with a nice topic that the listeners are going to really enjoy. and we're talking about Toronto Queen. Again, Empress, thank you so much. Blessed love, all right?
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right. Yes, folks, that's the way we do it right here with Empress.
Hello, this is Melissa Lady Song from the Lady Song Show on netlime.com radio. I have partnered with Palace for the Lady Song Academic Scholarship, and you can do so too. There are so many bright, deserving children that need financial assistance, and most of us are in a position to help. Do what you can. You will be glad you did. Go to palace1.org to make your contributions. Bye for now.
Greetings. This is S.